Hi, this is Marcus. If you head over to our website, modernartisrubbish.com, you can see the images that we're talking about and links to the images we're talking about.
Yeah. Let's get it going. Who is this Archangel guy?
He works a lot with digital and with web stuff. It's brilliant, really. And my mum met him yesterday. I was quite jealous, actually. I wanted to meet him. I wanted to meet Corey.
Oh, yeah, you were jealous of your mum rather than jealous of him.
No, I wasn't jealous of him. Well, no, because
you meet your mum lots anyway.
Yeah.
My night is rubbish. Isms, juxtapose, didactic. My night is rubbish. My night is rubbish podcast.
Hello and welcome to Modern Art is Rubbish. We're on 30.
Are you sure?
Episode 30. Yeah,
no,
we are.
Are you really?
It's 30.
30, it's a big one.
Yeah. Tom, well, you know that...
It's Saturn Returns, isn't it?
Saturn Returns? What's
Episode 30?
What's that? What film?
I don't know, it's not a film.
Returns.
It's like a stage in life, isn't it, that you go through, 27 to 34 or something.
Saturn Returns.
Have you not heard of that?
Like a follow-up to like
Saturn.
some sci-fi.
Saturn
movie.
Arrives.
Yeah. And Saturn is left. Is that when you're 40? So, Tom, you know I said last time Dali came to me in a dream for the last episode. Well, I woke up, what the hell I thought, but it was in the middle of the night and I thought, I've got to do Madonna, as in Madonna the pop star, and Madonnas, as in Mary, Mother of Jesus, Madonnas.
It's quite a fun dream you've had then.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of gold, I know that. That's all I remember, a lot of people in this dream, and there was a lot of gold.
But Madonna, the pop artist, she's not produced any works of art. I mean, she might argue with me over that, but she's a musician.
She is, but she's a big collector of art, and also she's had quite a few sort of pieces done about her, and she was also friends with three quite important American artists.
Who we're going to mention, I guess, in this episode.
Yes, later on. I thought about the Madonna. Now, Madonna is the name meaning Mary, Mother of Jesus. When she's together with Jesus, she's called the Madonna. And as a figure in art, she's an important figure.
She's massive in art.
There's a lot of paintings.
Yeah, she's bigger than Ed Sheeran, I'd say, probably.
I think Madonna, Mother of Jesus, is bigger than Ed Sheeran. I'm going to say that.
It's controversial.
Yeah. Don't go burning your pictures of Madonna, Ed Sheeran fans. So, of course, I have got a little story about... have you ever done a nativity?
Oh, I surely have, yeah.
Apparently, I was Joseph in the nativity scene. The local photographer had come around. I suppose at that time that was actually news. When it was time for the photograph to be taking place, I just stormed off and said, I'm not doing this.
Oh, right, yeah.
And so appeared this photo of just Mary and baby Jesus. So a actual Madonna and child scene.
Wow. So, but in the real nativity story, Joseph doesn't storm off, and refuse to have his photo taken.
Yeah. Well, that's all those gifts. So maybe if they brought me gifts and stuff like that, I might.
Gifts.
Not gifts. Well, that's it nowadays. You don't when you're for birthdays, you don't actually get presents anymore. You just get gifts, don't you, on your timeline.
The three wise men coming with their emojis for the baby Jesus.
So what I thought I'd do is I'd sort of pick a few Mary images of Mary, mostly featuring Jesus, throughout the ages, going from sort of
Well, you know, that's what she's most famous for, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she does sort of
It's hard to talk about her without mentioning Jesus, I suppose.
Yeah, he does come into the picture a lot. He's always what's it? I don't know. Would you call it photo bombing? Jesus is photo bombing Mary.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what's the opposite of photobombing? What Joseph did?
Photo rebuilding. Yeah, that doesn't work, does it? I mean, if you look at a lot of the paintings of Mary and Joseph, we did actually mention this in our blue episode, that Mary appears in blue and Jesus actually appears in red in a lot of these pictures. We talked about the fact that blue was quite a rare colour, quite a precious colour, so they saved it very much for Mary so that she looked quite special.
All right, yeah, rather than Jesus.
Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, yeah, she got a bit of a better look in there. There was even a name given to the blue, which was called Marion Blue.
Oh, okay. So Marion referring to Marion.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
referring to Mary or not?
Yeah, yeah. And again, I mean, with a lot of these paintings, you see them in gold. They thought it was like the shimmered like the light of heaven, but also because a lot of these paintings were shown inside monasteries and inside churches, which were quite dimly lit with candles. So when the candles would be lit, the paintings would shimmer in the dark, so you could see them better as well. So it had a sort of practical reason for it.
Excellent.
Yeah. I know what you're asking, thinking, Tom, right? Why do Madonnas from sort of around the medieval period, when they're painting what's called the Byzantine style, why do they look so strange? Are you thinking that?
Let's have a look. So you've just handed me a picture here. I don't know about strange. It doesn't look like, I don't know.
Yeah,
What is this picture you've given me?
It's a painting by an Italian Byzantine painter called Cimabue. And it's a really big painting. It's like 12 feet high. And it's called Madonna Enthroned with Angels and Prophets. And it was painted around about 1280 to 1290. Massive painting because it went up high in a church. And if you look at it, I think Mary looks a bit odd. You know, she's seated on a throne and she's depicted as being very long and out of proportion. And if you look, she's actually surrounded by tiny angels. And if you were to put, if she was to stand up and you actually had those angels stand next to her, they'd probably come up to the knees.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't have any accurate dimensions of angels.
Well, pretty much, I think they're normally like, I was always led to believe they're pretty much human-sized angels.
Really? See, I've heard different.
Well, even if they're bigger.
Or smaller.
Smaller, what, little angels?
Yeah,
they're
smaller.
fairies.
Oh, they're fairies. It's easy to confuse the two.
Yeah. For those of you listening, we'll put a copy of the picture on the website. Yeah, so she looks pretty big. And the babe, Jesus looks quite mini. Again, it's as we explained in our baby special, it's a little baby that looks like an adult. I'm going to give you a clue, right, as to why that might be, right? When you look at her, when you look at Mary, that out of proportion Mary with really long legs and shorter body and really long neck, do you fancy her?
Do I fancy Mary?
In that picture?
No.
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 And that, well, I don't quite know if they put it that way, but if you think about it, what actually happened is that after the Roman, when the Romans used to have lots of beautiful statues, and people would look at the beautiful statues and go, "Oh, isn't that a beautiful statue?" Maybe lustfully.
I want to look like that.
Yeah, cool. Look at that six pack on that statue. Now, the thing is that when the Roman Empire collapsed, the church obviously stepped in to fill out that void, and it was all about the inner beauty. So what you're supposed to do is when you look at that picture of Mary, you're not supposed to think, she looks great, I'll worship her. You're supposed to think about her inner beauty and the beauty of heaven and God. So that's why they look strange. You think, oh no, they may have not been that good at painting and just But it was actually a deliberate thing to make sure that you're not distracted from the inner beauty and not gaze at the external beauty.
Yeah, she's got quite a funny haircut in this.
Yeah.
It would be a bad haircut. You got home from the hairdressers with this haircut, you'd be like, that. You've had a bad time there.
And
all the angels round her, they've all got the same hair, and it's all like done nicely.
Yeah, she's got a veil on as well, and that's another thing. So you're not distracted by her lustrous hair.
Oh right, so it's, actually,
It's just
I'm
a fringe.
not. Yeah, I just can't see her hair. I thought that was her hair.
Blue hair. Right, we're going to zip ahead a few hundred years now.
Are we going to the future? Is that what you mean?
You were going into the future. But again, it's got a little bit more shocking.
All right, yeah.
What we're looking at now, again, this will be on the website, right, is a painting done by Jean Fouquet, and it's called The Virgin and Child Surrounded by Angels. Now, it's actually part of what's called a diptych, which is actually a 2-panel painting. So it shows 2 separate scenes, and the one we're actually looking at, it's quite a scandalous image for the time, and it's the Madonna, and she's sitting on a throne held up by angels that are completely painted in deep red or blue, and Mary's actually wearing a crown, and in contrast to the angels, she's extremely pale, and as is the pale ginger baby Jesus.
But again, it's a similar sort of position Mary and Jesus are in, like with him on her lap.
Yeah.
And she's wearing blue.
Yeah.
Like Madonna's wearing blue.
But again, in this one, the Jesus is completely white, but the angels are red, so it shows that kind of contrast of the blue and red of the two main sort of holy figures.
Sure, yeah.
Now, what's really
but there is like angels in blue there as well.
Yeah, angels in blue and red. Yeah, it almost looks quite modern in some ways because of that kind of strange colour contrast. And what also is unusual about this picture, she's actually exposing one of her breasts, and it's a sort of like a very spherical looking breast, and it's got hardly any nipple on it. And Jesus clearly is not interested.
Yeah, no, he's not.
I don't know about you, and I'm not. Now, obviously, I've only looked at breasts for art reasons.
Sure.
But I've never seen one like that before.
Well, it does look like a sort of like a squidgy toy of some sort.
What do you mean, a stress breast?
A stress breast. Yeah, that's it. It's a stress breast. And you'd imagine being like, you know, the prophet Jesus, you'd need a stress breast to on your downtime.
I think there's a couple of theories behind this. There are other scenes where Mary does have her breast out, but a lot of the time Jesus is actually interested in it. It's actually to do with just breastfeeding.
So is this controversial?
Well, it's controversial in the fact that Mary's just sitting there and clearly Jesus is not interested in it, so she's not breastfeeding. But the other thing as well is it's been painted in such a strange way as also to render it not explicit in the same way, so you're not looking at it and thinking, oh, that's a nice
Yeah,
breast.
well, in the context of a mother with a baby, you know, breasts look different, don't they, than in the context of a man's gaze or whatever.
Yeah, but in this one, this is what makes this a very unique portrait, which I'm just going to reveal. One of the other reasons why she actually has the breast out. This portrait was actually commissioned by Charles VII. It's done for more sort of like a personal reason, although it obviously would have been scandalous at the time. It's actually also scandalous for the fact that it's actually a portrait of someone. It's someone who's actually the king knew, who's been portrayed as Mary. So it was his mistress called Agnes Sorel. Now, Agnes Sorel was really important in the court of King Charles VII, as of France. And she was a really trusted advisor of his. And she died in childbirth. Now, the thing is that she was quite a scandalous, as there's a lot of scandal in art, as we've always talked about. And she would wear quite revealing dresses or quite revealing outfits.
Well, I can see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally, she there is writing about her, and it's said that she actually did wear costumes where she would have exposed one breast in court.
Okay, so it's not actually the Madonna and Child. It's almost been photobombed by Charles VII and his mistress.
Do you mean you're saying it's like a deep fake of the Madonna? You mean like someone's almost like done that thing where they take the picture of Madonna and they stick someone else's face on it?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, it's been carefully, designed like this, as you explained.
Yeah. For someone who says what a deep fake is just a process where AI puts the face of someone else on the body of another person.
Yeah, but in this case, they've taken the whole scene rather than just the body of someone else. Yeah. They've taken the scene of Madonna and Child and put her in it. Or the king has. Yeah, she was a very popular figure though, so that was probably what was behind the commission. Do you think that looks like Ed Sheeran, the baby? Yeah. Well, he still looks smaller than Madonna in this picture, so we can't move from my original assumption that Madonna's bigger than Ed Sheeran.
Moving on to a painting by a more probably one of the most famous painters to have ever lived, Raphael Sanzio.
Okay, so I recognise this image. Yeah. Is this Raphael?
Yeah.
Because I recognise the angels on the bottom there.
Yeah, the cherubs.
The cherubs, yeah. That's quite a famous image.
Yeah, so this is a painting he did, and it's called the Sistine Madonna, and it was done in 1512, and it was actually commissioned by Pope Julius for the San Sisto Church in Italy, and it was in honour of his late uncle, Pope Sixtus. Now, what the painting is of the Virgin Mary, and she's sort of standing barefoot holding Jesus, and she's sort of like supported by the clouds almost. She's sort of up there in the clouds. And if you actually look in the background, you can make out sort of faces of white cherubs.
Yeah.
And to her right is St. Barbara, and to her left is St. Sixtus.
Okay, are these famous saints?
St. Sixtus was the Pope, with the and St. Barbara. To what I remember of St. Barbara, she was like I believe her father or parent was a pagan, and she turned to Christianity, and she got kept up in a tower and then got beheaded very young for her beliefs.
What, for her Christian beliefs?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
And she got made. I thought Barbara sounds like quite a contemporary name, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
I know a lot of Barbaras, but they don't. I never thought about.
Yeah, well, there's probably a lot of our current names are probably find them like Saint Keanu and.
Marcus
Keanu?
is definitely a biblical one. Saint Keanu.
Saint Keanu. Saint Deborah.
Saint Apple. Saint Tyrone.
Tyrone, yeah. Well, you wouldn't be surprised, would you?
It's a good name. What makes this painting really famous, is what you identified, is at the bottom there's a couple of two which look like quite bored cherubs. They're at the very bottom, and they're sort of resting their hands on what is the kind of the altar, sort of like one's sitting there with his arms folded, and he's resting his head on his hands,
almost on the bottom of the frame of the painting.
Yeah, and the other one sort of like leaning there, propping his head up with his hand on his resting on his elbow, and they're looking quite bored. But they're really famous, aren't they? Those ones. I mean, they're on everything.
Yeah, you see them around. I've seen them around, definitely.
Yeah, actually, the cherubs are now the thing that you see on tea towels and chocolate boxes and Etsy cushions.
Yeah.
I don't know if other art market sites are available.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you know what the story is? Apparently, Raphael saw these two kids and they were bored, and they were looking up at their mum, who was the model. So he thought, oh, these are great, I'll put them in the picture. Or another theory was he was walking past a bakery and saw these kids looking in the window.
All right,
I
yeah.
thought, I must paint those.
Well, who said that part of the story? Was that Greg's?
Greg's the baker. Local baker, yeah.
Yes, the Raphael painting, that was done outside Greg's. He got all his ideas from one of these sausage rolls. Buy it now for half price.
So we're going to zip further into the future, like a few hundred years to 1926. Leading on from the Spirit of the Dali episode last week, it's a surrealist painting. And the title of the painting is The Virgin Spanking the Christ Child Before Three Witnesses, Andre Breton, Paul Eluard, and the painter. And that was painted by Max Ernst in 1926. Now, looking at this features a more sort of down-to-earth, dare I say, Virgin Mary. And she looks at her wit's end. I think Jesus has clearly been quite naughty. He's lying naked across her lap. And he looks at, I reckon, he looks about 7 or 8.
He's got this mop of blonde hair. It's kind of little baby Donald Trump or something.
Yeah, well, he has been naughty, hasn't he? and she's dressed in a sort of like quite a tight figure-hugging red dress. And Jesus is actually
with the signature blue on the bottom.
Yeah,
there.
Signature blue. She's got like a blue shawl around her legs, which Jesus is actually is on top of, and she's spanking him, I think is the word, and it looks like she's given him he's been quite naughty because his butt cheeks are quite red.
This is quite subtle, this picture, because really it's like you wouldn't guess it was the Virgin Mary and Jesus, even though she's got she's got a halo on. She's got a halo, she's got a signature blue, but unless you were told the title of it, it would just be a woman spanking her baby, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean with a halo, but that's the thing, it's the ambiguity of surrealism, because it's all sort of surreal and it's dreamlike, so you can't be. Although it's got that title, you can never be quite sure. And also, if you look at the picture, looking through the window is the three figures of Andre Breton, Paul Eluard, and Max Ernst, and they're looking through the window at this scene.
All right, so this had these are like art references in the painting.
Yes, yeah. Well, it's his friends, and they're obviously now surrealists. They were Dardarists.
So what do you reckon they're painted up as the angels in this picture?
Well, no, I think it's just quite voyeuristic. I think they're just looking on, going, "Oh, what's going on?" And if you notice as well, Mary is still, like you pointed out, she's still got a halo. And Jesus, who clearly has been so naughty that his halo has actually come off. So she is actually...
Oh, yeah, you can see. I didn't notice that before. It's on the floor.
Yeah. So it looks like she's giving him a holy spanking.
Holy spanking,
I don't know if holy spanking is actually a thing.
I think that's the correct technical term for this, isn't it?
Yeah.
If your halo comes off like that, that's a holy spanking, surely.
Yeah. I mean, again, you can imagine this caused quite a stir. It's probably what made Max Ernst really famous as well.
Sure.
I mean, obviously he'd done these Dada performances and stuff, but I think this is where he really came into the public consciousness, because you can imagine Jesus being smacked. Someone was actually telling me this, that apparently there's a few passages from the Bible where Jesus was more naughty and they weren't included.
Oh, what? So they were written into the Bible and then they were pulled?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like didn't make the final cut.
Sure, yeah. Well, I guess, yeah.
Redacted.
A bit like the Like a Prayer Madonna video.
Yeah.
That got banned.
Yeah, I think it's more like, for those of you who know, it's more like the Mueller report, I think.
Oh, right, yeah.
With little black lines where Jesus has been naughty. So, on to the last of the Madonnas before we talk about Madonna. And this is Damien Hirst, and it's called The Virgin Mother, and it was made in 2005. and it's a really huge, it's sort of over 10 metres tall, bronze statue, and it's a partially painted sculpture. It's done in the similar strong colours that you would find on sort of like those medical diagrams, and it's of a naked pregnant woman with cutaway views of her innards, including skull, muscles. You can see the fetus inside her womb, and it's actually, when you look at it, it looks a bit like a sort of child's educational toy, sort of the kind where you can remove the organs. And it's what's unusual about this. Well, what's unusual about it is everything. And you can see she's actually standing in a pose that is the same as a sculpture that was created by the French artist Degas. And his sculpture was called Little Dancer, age 14. And interestingly enough, this statue by Damien Hirst being called the Virgin Mother, and it's believed that Mary was around about 12 to 14 when she gave birth to Jesus.
So it's like teenage pregnancy.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's interesting that he's picked that kind of like a reference to the Degas sculpture, which was quite controversial. And that was a sculpture of a young Parisian ballet dancer.
Why was the Degas sculpture controversial?
Well, firstly, because of its subject matter, because it was of a young sort of 14-year-old ballet dancer, and nothing had been done like that before. Also, it's made of wax, the original one, and it had a fabric skirt and it had real hair, and that was quite sort of revolutionary for the time. And also, the thing is to note that these dancers, they were really quite poorly treated. Ballet dancers in Paris, some of them, they would be sort of start learning to dance at age 8, and they'd be working sort of like up to 10 hours a day.
Living in poverty.
Well, living in poverty, but also being abused as well. And they were even described as opera rats by people, so they weren't very well treated.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like this thing. So it's, you can, when you look at that sculpture, and then you look at you think about the Degas thing, it's kind of like you can see that kind of fragility of life, history of existence, which a lot of Damien Hirst works are about. Again, this one was very controversial.
Who was the German artist in East London who did his body?
Oh yes, Gunther von Hagens.
Yeah, so it reminds me of Gunther von Hagen's Body Worlds.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, Damien Hirst has also done another piece called Him, but Hymm, and it was of a man. So it's a very similar kind of thing. So there is a religious kind of theme with both the man and the woman in this.
What, he had a work called Him?
Hymm, and it was of a man, the man equivalent of this one.
Oh, okay, yeah. I guess with that one, I'm imagining what it's like rather than looking at it right now. I'm imagining it's kind of there's no like religious
connotations.
There's no signatures that it's a holy picture.
No. Again, it just looks literally like almost like a giant.
Only in the titles. So same with this Virgin Mary.
They look more medical than
yeah, absolutely.
Again, they do look like medical toys, and that's the thing. It's the same with him.
Yeah, so it's such a wide scope of different artworks over history with the Virgin Mary, and it's almost like she's so many different things.
She's quite, I think, an iconic image, and again, that leads us quite nicely to the second half of our podcast, which is a few things I found out to do with art and Madonna. I remember that she released the Greatest Hits album years and years ago.
The Immaculate Conception?
The Immaculate Collection.
Oh, sorry.
Again, playing on the idea of Mary, playing on the idea of the Immaculate Conception. And firstly, I mean, I was looking, she's like quite a big collector of art, and she owns pieces by people such as Frida Kahlo, Tamara Dinlin-Pica. She's an artist that was famous from the Art Deco period, and she owns other sort of like quite famous works. And she even actually dated a really, really famous artist in the early 80s.
What Madge did?
Yes, she did. Oh, Madge, you're on you're on first name terms. So, in the early 1980s, just before she was on sort of like the brink of fame, she was dating the artist Basquiat.
All right, yeah, we've come across him.
Yeah. Now, he actually died in 1988 at the age of, have a guess what age he died at? What age?
27?
Yeah. Joined the 20.
The Saturn Returns again.
Now, the thing is she apparently, when she was with him, she would often sort of like find him getting up in the middle of the night and just going, I've got to paint. And sort of like just being taken with sort of the moment of wanting to paint, and he couldn't stop himself. So he's kind of like driven by this insatiable creative sort of spirit, and that's what she really likes. Apparently they split up in 1984, and she actually owned about five or so of his works, and she had to give them all back. He made her give them all back, and apparently he's painted black over them.
I'm going to think of that when I next hear the song Paint It Black.
Yeah. And also she was good friends with the artist Keith Haring. Do you know Keith Haring? He was an artist who was famous for doing graffiti work.
Is this New York in the 80s?
Yes, yeah. And he was most famous, a lot of his drawings for relating to AIDS. His works, he would do figures with just black outlines. And like they're not like stick figures, but almost like that. And they'd have like a barking dog. And a lot of his works was quite political and had quite a strong message.
Sure,
and he was good friends with her. In 1985, Madonna was getting married to Sean Penn. So Madonna invited Keith Haring to her wedding, and as his date, he decided to take Andy Warhol, as you do.
Yeah.
As well as graffiti work, Keith Haring produced works where he cut out headlines from the New York Post and arranged them to produce fake headlines. So it's sounds quite like Tristan Zara from the Dada kind of idea. So he'd rearrange them into titles. So looking at one like, for instance, like Pope killed for freed hostage. So he's just taken a lot. And another one of his ones is Reagan's death cops hunt Pope.
Wow.
Yeah. And as a wedding gift, him and Andy Warhol thought they'd sort of like take that style and redo it. So what we're looking at now is we've got like a New York Post headline, which is Madonna on nude pics, so what?
And this is a wedding present.
Yeah. Madonna, I'm not ashamed. Yeah. Basically, what happened was that Penthouse got hold of some old photographs that Madonna did for an art studio for a photographer. And Penthouse decided to publish them around about the same time. So they did these kind of mock headlines where they just, so these are prints, and what they've done is they've rearranged, and then Keith Haring has actually drawn over the top of them.
All right, yeah.
It's quite good, expensive gifts. Well, no, they wouldn't have been expensive. Would they have been expensive? Yes, they would have been.
What, to create them?
Well, no, getting a gift from Keith Haring and Warhol, that's quite a collectible gift.
Oh, it's definitely collectible.
Yeah.
But then anything Madonna touched, she could like lick her fork and it goes up in value.
Oh yeah, I'd have it.
Yeah.
A little reference there. Now, another one of the art that she actually got someone else to do an art cover for her. It's quite famous, which was the artist Mr. Brainwash. Now, Mr. Brainwash was made famous for featuring in the film Exit Through the Gift Shop, made by Banksy. And in this one, he's designed the cover for her Celebration album. And what he's done is he's taken the hair that what Andy Warhol used for Marilyn Monroe and stuck it on top of Madonna, and then given her a little bit of colour to make her sort of like combine the two. He's done this with a few other people. He's sort of like taken, I believe, people like Obama or famous people and stuck the Marilyn Monroe hair on top of them to make different images.
Interestingly, on this one, she's got the signature blue eyeshadow.
What's the signature? Oh, yes. And the red lips.
Yeah. I presume that wasn't in Mr. Brainwash's head when he did that. But
no. So, Tom, that was the end of our Madonna and Madonnas journey. It's quite. I was actually quite surprised, actually, because I knew quite a bit about that sort of field of art.
I was surprised with all the Ed Sheeran references.
Yeah. So thanks very much for listening. Again, if you want to join us, please, you can follow us on Twitter. What's the Twitter account name?
Twitter.com/mod art is rubbish.
I'd just like to say that I don't think mod art is rubbish, and I really like the cover of the Jam album, All the Mod Cons. Well done. Really
Nice.
Good cover.
Yeah.
Also, Facebook. We're always on Facebook. What's the address for that?
Facebook.com/modern art is rubbish.
Yeah. And we love hearing from you. If you want to get in touch with us, please do so on our email address.
info@modernartisrubbish.com.
If you want to like and follow us, you can do so via your preferred podcast app, which could be anything from Spotify to iTunes to Podbean to Stitcher. We're on them all. And that's Modern Art is Rubbish. And also, the show does cost to produce, and if you'd like to support us, which quite a few people do, just head over to our Patreon page, and the address is
patreon.com/modern art is rubbish.
And that's it. I think it's just buys, Tom. Maybe we should do holy buys. Bye. All right, holy goodbyes. Goodbye.
Bye.
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 Bye. Bye.